Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I actually want to start right off the bat with a very specific, very visceral feeling.
Oh, I'm the resident expert here, and I am ready for it. Hit me.
Okay, so imagine it's Friday afternoon. It's maybe, I don't know, 3 p.m. You are staring at your phone, and you have this itch.
Like a social anxiety itch.
Exactly. You know that if you don't send a text right now, something like, "Hey, what's the plan?" or "Are we still on for tonight?" then absolutely nothing is going to happen.
Right. The weekend will just sort of happen to you rather than with you.
Yeah. It is the feeling of being the engine.
Oh, man. You're the spark plug.
And the terrifying realization is that if you don't fire, the whole social machine just sits there in the driveway. It's not that people don't like you.
No, of course not.
It's not that you don't have friends. But you are the one holding the glue bottle. And today, we are asking a pretty tough question. What happens when you just put the glue down?
That is a heavy question. And to explore it, we're doing a deep dive into this really profound essay by the writer and philosopher Pedro Mala. It's titled The Arranger.
The Arranger. I mean, I felt seen and completely attacked by that title simultaneously.
Yeah, it's a very common archetype, but Mala digs much deeper than just, being the organized friend.
Right, because our mission today isn't to give you relationship advice on how to manage a calendar or how to nag your friends effectively.
Definitely not.
Why?
This is a philosophical exploration of connection. We really want to unpack the hidden labor of relationships and, more importantly, the silence that rushes in when that labor actually stops.
I want to set the stakes here early on. This isn't just about missing a dinner party. It is about a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and the people around you. Mala talks about the deception of presence versus the reality of pattern.
Which is such a crucial distinction to make.
So let's start right there with the deception part. Because Maha makes a point that I initially struggled with a bit. He says that when you are the arranger inside the relationship, it doesn't actually feel one-sided.
Well, right. If it felt completely miserable, you would have quit years ago.
Exactly. I thought, well, of course it doesn't, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. But Mala argues that the in-person experience acts as a kind of camouflage.
Yeah, think about the last time you organized a big group dinner. Once everyone is finally there, the food is on the table, the wine is pouring,
Yeah, what's
the
that?
actual vibe.
The vibe is great. Everyone is laughing. People are catching up. It feels like a collective organism, like we are all just in it together.
Exactly. The laughter is real, the connection is genuine. Mala is very clear that we aren't talking about fake friendships here.
Right.
But he points out that the emotional experience of the dinner totally masks the structural reality of how that dinner actually happened.
It's the party analogy. Once the music is playing, you forget that one specific person had to rent the speakers, unlock the doors, and send out 3 separate calendar invites,
Yeah, the enjoyment of the moment hides all the logistics.
which creates what he calls this illusion of mutuality.
Right, because you're sharing the moment, you just naturally assume you're sharing the maintenance. You leave that dinner thinking, wow, we are such a tight group.
You definitely don't leave thinking, wow, that event was a fragile construct that only existed because I willed it into existence on Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning logistics versus Friday night fun. That is the kicker. It's that Tuesday morning realization. Because eventually the dinner ends, everyone goes home,
And the pattern reveals itself.
or rather the absence of a pattern reveals itself. Mala calls this maintenance through repetition.
This is where the essay gets really painful. He describes the specific mechanics of what happens when the arranger simply stops arranging. It's not a single dramatic moment, is it?
No, it's not a breakup text. It is basically the scientific method applied to your social life. You remove one variable, which is you, and you observe the result. Mala writes, you don't message, nothing arrives. You don't plan, nothing forms.
I really think we need to dwell on that for a second,
Yeah.
because I have done this. I think a lot of us have done this, maybe even subconsciously.
Just testing the waters?
Yeah, you stop asking questions just to see if anyone else has a question for you. And Mulha notes that conversations become shorter.
They wither. It's like social entropy. Without the energy that you actively inject, the natural state of the dynamic just reverts to silence.
But here is where I want to push back a little, or at least play devil's advocate, because when I read this, part of me got super defensive for my friends.
Sure, that makes sense.
I thought, okay, but people are busy. Life is hard. People have toddlers, demanding jobs, aging parents. Isn't it a bit narcissistic to sit there quietly testing them? Maybe I'm just the one with the capacity right now, so I really should carry it.
That is the compassionate view. And it is a completely valid one. Mala absolutely acknowledges this. He lists out the rationalizations we use. Life is full. Work is competing for attention. And the thing is, those statements are factually true. Your friends really are tired.
Right. So isn't the silence just a result of modern exhaustion and not a lack of love?
Mala suggests it's a bit more complex than that. He argues that while those excuses are totally true, we use them as a shield. They serve a specific function for us.
How so?
As long as you say, oh, they're just swamped with a new baby, and then you send the text for them, you protect yourself from the reality of the dynamic.
Ah, we use the excuse to keep the pattern untested.
Precisely. We treat their busyness as a temporary state. We tell ourselves, oh, once things calm down at work, they'll reach out. But Mala asks you to really look at the timeline. Has it been 6 months, 2 years, 5 years?
Yeah, at some point it's not a phase.
Right. If the dynamic hasn't shifted back, then busyness isn't the actual reason anymore. It's just the structure of the relationship.
Oof, that hurts. We use they're busy as a narcotic to numb the sting of the imbalance.
Because the alternative is admitting that you are prioritizing them in a way they are simply not prioritizing you. And that is a really hard thing to look at directly.
So let's talk about the moment you finally do look at it, the moment the arranger stops. The essay describes this not as a firm decision, really, but as a stepping back.
Yeah, it's rarely a dramatic, I'm done with you people kind of moment. It's usually a moment of quiet hesitation. You pull out your phone to send the usual Friday drinks text, and you stop.
You feel a sudden weight.
Yeah, and you decide to just let the space sit.
Giving things room. That's the exact phrase he uses. You aren't closing the door, you're just stepping away from the frame to see who walks through it.
And what usually happens?
Silence. Just undramatic, quiet, deafening silence.
Mala captures the texture of this silence so incredibly well. He writes, it does not feel like rejection. It feels like something that was moving is no longer moving.
That distinction is so vital. Rejection is active. It's someone explicitly saying no to you. This is just physics. It's an object coming to rest because the force pushing it was removed.
And then the realization really crystallizes. What existed depended entirely on you continuing it. Imagine sitting with that on a quiet weekend. No one is angry at you. No one has blocked your number. They just haven't thought to find you.
But this is where the deep dive needs to go even deeper. Because up until now, we have really been focusing on them, the flaky friends, the non-arrangers. But Mala pivots the mirror. And this part, honestly, this part made me pretty uncomfortable.
You're talking about the internal shift.
Yeah. We have to ask the hard question. Why do we arrange? Why do we take on this role? Is it just because we are benevolent, incredibly social saints?
Malha suggests probably not. There is a quieter recognition that the arranger actually needed to keep things going.
Needed it for what, though?
For validation, identity, safety. Malha notes that arranging gave shape to your days. It provided a tangible way of knowing you were part of something. Think about the anxiety of the arranger. If you don't plan the dinner and the dinner doesn't happen, what does that say about your value?
It says I'm disposable, or that I'm only lovable if I'm useful.
Exactly. I plan, therefore I am. There's a control element here too, right? If you are the one organizing the event, you never really have to worry about being excluded. You control the guest list. You control the time. You are the architect of your own social safety.
Wow. So in a way, we are preempting the silence.
Yes. Malha suggests that the arranger often sends that text on Tuesday because they are terrified of the silence that might happen on Friday. You don't even give people the chance to step up or fail to step up because the risk to your own ego is just too high.
We suffocate the relationship with our own anxiety because we're too scared to let it breathe. That is a lot to process. It means that when we stop, we aren't just testing our friends, we are facing our own void.
We're facing the question, who am I to these people if I am not working for them?
And realizing that for some of them, the answer might be no one.
And that leads directly to the complex emotional aftermath Malha describes. It is a really strange mix of relief and grief.
Those two emotions do not usually go together.
No, but here they absolutely do. Let's look at the relief first. When you finally stop arranging, there is a sudden lifting of responsibility. You aren't playing Tetris with 6 different schedules anymore. You aren't stressed about making the restaurant reservation.
The cruise director hat comes off. You can just exist. There is a genuine freedom in that.
But sitting right next to that freedom is the grief. And it's a very specific kind of grief. You aren't grieving what happened in the past. The memories of those dinners are still there. You are grieving what will not happen now.
The lost potential.
Yes. You know, logically, that if you sent one text, you could create a memory next Saturday. By not sending it, you are actively choosing to let that future dissolve. You are literally watching a timeline fade out.
That feels incredibly heavy. It almost feels like killing something. And I think that's why so many of us end up going back to arranging. We just can't stand the guilt of letting the potential die.
It feels like a death. But Mala urges us, and this is critical, to avoid judgment here. It is so easy to spiral into bitterness, to say, they never cared, they're selfish, I was used.
But how do you avoid that if the facts are, I stopped texting and they vanished? How is that not a judgment on their character?
Because, as Malha writes, what people feel and what people do are not always the same thing.
Explain that a bit more.
Okay, you can have a friend who genuinely loves you. When they see you, their face lights up. They think of you fondly. But they might just lack the drive to initiate. They might be incredibly passive by nature. Or honestly, they might just be conditioned to follow your lead after all these years. The silence isn't a lack of love. It's a lack of mechanics.
Ah, the engine versus the passenger.
Exactly. The passenger loves the ride, they love the driver.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to drive the car, or they've never had to.
So the realization isn't they hate me, it's just they aren't arrangers.
Correct. And understanding that changes the landscape of your life. Not every relationship dies when you step back. Some just change shape.
Mala talks about the shifting shape, the transition from regular to occasional. Maybe you see them once every 6 months now instead of every week. But he mentions a very specific fatigue when you do actually see them.
The old self. This part really resonated with me. He writes that when you meet these people after a long silence, you find yourself reaching for a version of you that fits that space.
It's like putting on an old coat that used to fit perfectly but now feels tight in the shoulders.
Yeah, you have to perform the you that they know. You've been doing all this deep internal processing, stepping back, changing your values, and they're exactly where you left them. They expect the arranger. They expect the old dynamic.
And aligning with that old dynamic takes effort. It leaves you feeling slightly tired, even if the dinner was nice. It's the fatigue of dragging the past into the present.
It's the fatigue of misalignment. You have simply outgrown the shape of that connection.
So where does this leave us? The arranger stops arranging, the herd thins out, the phone is a lot quieter, the calendar has way more white space. Is this a tragedy?
It feels like one at first, but Mala really frames it as a necessary clearing. He says the feeling fluctuates between freedom and the silence of something that used to make life feel full.
It's a trade-off. You trade the exhaustion of carrying the load for the quietness of the truth.
And the truth is, some things were only held up by your hands. When you drop your hands, they fall. Mala has this haunting line. He says some relationships do not end through conflict or distance, but simply because the person keeping them moving stops, and nothing replaces that movement.
Nothing replaces that movement. That really challenges the Disney version of friendship we all have in our heads. We think friendship is magic, that it's eternal. But Mala is saying friendship is physics. It requires actual force.
And if you are the only source of that force, you have a decision to make. And this is actually the empowering part of the essay. It's not a prescription. It's a diagnosis.
Right. Malha isn't saying, cut everyone off right now.
No. He's saying, see the structure for what it is. Once you know you are the engine, you can choose. You can ask yourself, do I want to drive this car? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes you have a friend who is terrible at planning but is amazing at emotional support, or is just really fun to be around. And you decide, okay, I will pay the tax, I will be the arranger because I deeply value this person.
But you do it with your eyes open. You aren't doing it while secretly resenting them for not being you.
Exactly. You move from compulsion, thinking I have to do this or I'm alone, to agency, saying I am choosing to do this.
And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes you realize the cost is just too high, and you let the silence win.
You accept the quiet, you accept that your circle is smaller, but the connections that remain, those are the ones that have their own momentum.
The ones that meet you halfway.
Or at least part of the way.
This has been heavy. But a good heavy. Like a deep tissue massage for your social life.
It's uncomfortable, but it realigns things.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought. Building on what Malha left unresolved, we've talked so much about the fear of the silence, the fear that if we stop, everything just disappears.
Which is a very valid fear.
It is, but I want to flip it. Consider this. If you stopped carrying the thread today, completely stopped, we know some things would fall away. But is the fear of that silence the only thing keeping you busy? And if that silence actually arrived, Who might you meet in that empty space?
You might just meet yourself.
You might, and you might find that the version of you who doesn't have to arrange everything is actually a pretty interesting person to hang out with.
The person who deserves to be chased, not just the one always doing the chasing.
Exactly. Something to think about the next time your thumb is hovering over that send button. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Take care, everyone.